David,
Hi. Hi, everybody.
welcome.
Hope you had a good lunch. Oh, Bonnie snuck in the picture there for just a split second. But come say hi.
Hi, everybody.
All right. Go ahead. What do you mean, go ahead? Get back on there, Adam, and tell me what you want to talk about. You know, we have such a wide world of subjects that we can help with. Well, what is it that your subject is? What do you want? What are you guys here to learn? Because I can talk about courts all day long. I can talk about prisons all day long. I can talk about just about any subject you want. What do you need from me? That's what I want. I want what you need from me. So give me a few suggestions and we'll run through it.
We're gonna start off with a couple questions from the audience, David, on subject matter, and the woman in the back. Just speak. That's good.
I'm interested in trying
Interested in the IRS money Social Security, right? Yes. The IRS Social Security returns.
like an IRS
Requesting IRS hearing, what can David share about that?
Yeah, David. So the request is for IRS hearing. She's got an IRS hearing, and what is the subject matter of the IRS hearing? Hello, yes, question. What's the subject matter of the IRS hearing?
I'm trying to get the money returned for from lien.
From a lien. So you're trying to get money returned from a lien. So there's an IRS lien that they illegally placed on you or unlawfully placed on you, and you're trying to get that money back through a hearing. Is that correct? Okay. So David.
I love this one because this is exactly what I've done many times on my own for myself and for others. I've had a lot of real estate in the past that the IRS put liens on, and I got all the liens removed. How did I get them removed? I went to the hearing, and I usually speak for about an hour in a hearing, and then we're done. It's over with. And that's how it used to be. Now I can probably do that same job in 15 minutes. First of all, the IRS never follows proper due process in order to place a lien on your property in the first place. So the object of the game is this. First of all, did they provide proper notice to you? That's the first thing you ask. If there was no proper notice, if you didn't get letters in the mail, and how many? 3. If you didn't get 3 letters of notice in the mail from the IRS, which they never do, you weren't provided with proper notice. And a hearing would have had to occur before the lien. Did you have a hearing before the lien? Did you have an audit? Did you have any kind of a hearing before they placed the lien? No, because they just willy-nilly go down to the county and do it because people don't fight it. Our people fight it, see? You have the opportunity to be heard. You have the opportunity to present evidence. You have the opportunity for notice. You have the opportunity for fundamental fairness. You got the opportunity to have specific guidelines. And what I mean by guidelines is timelines followed. They never follow due process. And without due process, their goose is cooked. Second of all, when you're in your hearing, I want you to hold up a dollar bill or a 5 or a 10 or a 20. Take one of each. Hold them up. Question them. Say, is this a Federal Reserve note? Yes or no? Grab another one. Is this a Federal Reserve note? Yes or no? Is this what you take as your form of payment? Yes or no? Is a Federal Reserve note, here's a kicker, is a Federal Reserve note a debt or a debenture? Yes or no? Because it's defined in federal law in the IRS code as a debt or a debenture. How does one pay a tax on a debt? See, those things alone just absolutely absolve your tax debt. What makes you a taxpayer? A taxpayer is defined as a United States what? Citizen or employee. What made you a citizen? Did you understand that you were a citizen? Did you sign the 1040? That your signature upon a 1040 form made you a taxpayer? Can you rescind that signature? Yes, especially when you learned there was fraud involved. Where is the fraud? The fraud is in no due process, no notice, no proper procedure, no opportunity to be heard, no hearing, no full and honest disclosure of the terms and conditions of the contract, not even of being a U.S. citizen, a person, nor a resident. They never told you any of that. See, this is something you had to learn. So then you come back and say, well, I recently learned it, and I used my intent and purpose to correct those things and become a state national. Right? Because we have the right of self-determination. That's international law. That's under the ICCPR, Article 1. I taught the ICCPR for 30 years, okay? It's one of the few documents we have as a treaty that the United States signed on to, where it actually distinguishes the difference between a man and a woman and a person. If you read through the first 27 articles. Well, the United States signed that treaty. Now they signed it in a way where they don't have to bring it up. They don't have to teach it to you in your schools. They don't have to bring it up for you in your court cases or in your hearings with the IRS. They don't have to do that. But if you should read it, you should bring it up. You should hold them accountable. Then they have to follow it to the letter of the law, down to the lowest municipality. And they have to follow it. And it's very important, okay? They'll try and tell you it's not, but it is. So just the fact that we were not left with any way to discharge a debt, that's treason. They took away the gold and silver, the ability to discharge. All they left us with is legal tender, a trade note, a debt instrument. These are the things that just destroy the Internal Revenue Service. And who has the fiduciary responsibility? This is why you file the Form 56 on your all caps name. And you rescission your 1040 contracts. And you can do that with a 1040X, and you can ask for every dollar you've ever paid in back. Okay. All right. There's the answer to that question. Adam?
Yeah, beautiful answer, David. I don't think there's any follow-up questions to that one. Tim?
procedure about collecting social security that was paid in and get back on some?
Okay, is there a procedure for the same thing, getting social security you've paid in and getting that back in a lump sum?
All your social security that you pay in goes into your Cestui trust. So the proper way is to gain access to your trust, get it all back. But yes, there are some procedures to get it all back, and you can request it all back at once. The biggest problem with that is it was a terrible investment. It didn't earn a lot of money. It's lost value due to inflation, and it's not even worth as much as what you put in. You can still get a dollar for dollar, though. See, they have to give it to you. So you can put in a claim for that too, but I would put in a claim for the entire trust.
Beautiful, beautiful. Are there any other questions for David? Some subject matter you want to go over? Some concerns? Yes, sir.
I would just like to talk about trust. We started, we had the free trust. Now we've added the ministry trust. I'm trying to understand, I know the land trust, that's where we're going to put our homes and our cars and different things, but now we're moving it over to the ministry trust. I'm just trying to understand all that.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't know how to ask that question other than what am I moving, how do I, if I'm not putting it in my land trust now and I'm moving it to a ministry trust, what goes in my land trust then, what goes in my ministry trust? How does that work?
David, so the question is really with the land, air, water trust and what we put under a land trust, what we put under the ministry trust, and the instructions are to put everything in the ministry trust and give everything to God, and how that's really changed. So,
well, I'll tell you why it's changed. The reason why it's changed is we have to adapt. Government tends to adapt to the things we do. The more we learn, the more we spread the word, the more people that start doing it. It's always we, the people, that cause reaction or effect. We, the people, cause that. So as we wake up and we learn and we get educated and we start to do things that through our knowledge, as our knowledge increases over time, we start to do things to begin to protect our property. They come back and do things to make it harder for us, take it away from us, and we have to adapt. We have to keep adapting. So first of all, in that adaptation, we used to put everything here on this earth in a land trust and try and put it in the land, have it governed by common law, which is the way this nation was founded. That's what we knew to begin doing. What they started doing with that is they started creating legislation and laws and policy and started informing their pawns on the chess table, their police officers, policy officers, to begin to come after you, to find ways to make life so difficult that you either give up, acquiesce, or change, one or the other. And that's what they've done. And they've done it over and over again. So now we have to take it away from them completely. And this is some of the things we've learned in the last couple of years. It's more recent knowledge. So it is to be able to put things in our ministry, which is it's our God-given right. And the reason for this is the fact that the religion, freedom of religion, has always been protected. And it's protected under the First Amendment.
Straight access to the Supreme.
And it gives us, as ambassadors, if you read your Bible, we're ambassadors of God and of Christ. So my wife jumps in and says 2 Corinthians 5:20. So that's your ambassadors of Christ. As an ambassador, according to federal law, we have direct access to the Supreme Court. And we can bypass all the lower courts when we operate this way, when we operate fully and get into the private with our trust and with our ministry. And this is where we all want to aspire to, because even in the State Department laws, we are owed as an ambassador's passport, which is really the ultimate passport to have. It's better than the blue ones that we've been getting as a non-resident alien or as a non-citizen national. Okay, it's better than that because it gives us complete protection. We just walk through the ports, and we should be able to get an ambassador's passport once we've done all these things. And because the law says that. And over the last year and a half, we've had the opportunity to review it and read it. So it's very, very important.
Thank you, David. Quite on point. Another question there?
Yeah, I know David mentioned about the 4 different types of trusts. Could you review that again, please?
Yeah, so can you do a quick review, David, on the 4 different types of trust?
Well, you can do 4 or you can do 3. The key is to have a trust for each jurisdiction. So when you're operating that jurisdiction, you got a trust that corresponds. Commerce is the important one. Having the ministry trust, once you have the trust on your all caps name, trust, and you have an account open to that, the purpose of that is to transfer funds, is to take banking away from government, put it in a bank account where you control it through the ITIN, not your social security number, and then you can transfer the funds into whatever trust you want to transfer it into, and I recommend the ministry trust. Thereby eventually eliminating it as far as what you're doing with it. It's an irrevocable trust, but it's taking claim. It's just following scripture, taking dominion over the water, jurisdiction of the water, so that you can operate properly. Your assets should be protected by giving them to God. Assets are different than cash. Cash is an operating tool. It comes and it goes, and it pays for things. It discharges debt, and it comes in. It's a trade unit. Think of it as a trade unit. That's all it is. So you need somewhere to move that trade unit from your SECUV and your Social Security accounts, and you move it into your all cap name ITIN trust. Now it's held in trust.
The banker does not see the trust, they see the declaration.
Right. The bankers don't see the trust, they see the declaration of the trust, the declaration page, which lays out who the executor is, who the trustee is, who the beneficiary is. Trusts are private. Keep them all private if you can. Okay?
And a non-interest bearing account.
Yes, it's also important and especially your ministry account, your ministry trust, your land trust to have non-interest bearing accounts, non-usury accounts. Okay. Your commercial trust account in your all caps name for a short period of time, it can be an interest bearing account. You could probably save several or make several $1,000s just in the time it takes to transfer it in and transfer it out. I use it as a transfer account. That's all you need to do. So anyway,
Yes, so David, there's a question related to that. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, so if your birth certificate is in all caps and you need to get it authenticated, do you leave the birth certificate in all caps and get it authenticated like that? This is tying into the yes.
no. Item sonum. I want you to look that up. IDEM SONAM. Item sonum. What looks like, sounds like. That's what they operate under. So, yeah, look it up. It's been around for a long time. Let me see here. Always takes me too long to find stuff. I'm not as quick as most people, but yeah, you need to just go ahead and look up item sonum, because that's a Latin term, and it'll tell you that it looks like, sounds like. So regardless of what your name is on the birth certificate, is something they create. They already have it. They've created accounts and your name's spelled a million different ways. This is why we do the name change. Because they don't care as long as it sounds similar. David Lester straight David Lester. David L. period straight. They don't care as long as it sounds similar. It's item sonum. All right, go ahead. Adam.
Yeah, David. So there's the question. Go ahead.
Silver that you open up the account, the $21 or 21 ounces or 21 pieces.
Yeah, we've had this question before. So the
I
21.
don't care if it's 21 silver dollars or 84 silver quarters pre-1964. It's got to be real dollars. In other words, not bullion. It's got to be real dollars. We walked in with a bag of 84 silver quarters. That's $21. Okay, doesn't matter. Or one. This is a United States silver dollar right here that was put on a machine and pressed and made into a ring. It's 1 ounce of pure silver. It's got to be a silver dollar or silver denomination. It was a United States dollar mint.
And David, what's the significance of the 21? I think that's come up several times about why 21?
Because anything over $20 creates a contract.
There you go.
What is that?
Anything over $20 creates a contract. So you have to have consideration in a contract. And there's no consideration under $20. It's like fast food, a hamburger. That's not the contract. It's got to be.
I bought a 3,362 acre ranch one time for $21 of silver and other consideration.
Mm-hmm.
I insisted on doing that with the guy and not disclosing how much I paid for the ranch. And I just handed him a briefcase with $1 million in cash in it. Okay? As my down payment. But we closed, and on the title, on the deed, it said the value of this property is $21 of silver and other consideration, period. And when that deed was recorded, the county removed the property taxes. So,
And from my understanding of other people that have done similar, paying in silver, when you also put God into the deed, it really starts to change things when you invoke that.
it says, "In God we trust."
Yeah, it's the in God we though, and that's a trust.
Right.
And I don't think we're from that trust.
Well, we are. It's our trust with God. So, yeah.
Yes.
Remember, the nation is a social compact. That means it's we the people first at the highest level. We the people are sovereign. God extended that to his son. His son extended it to us, the people. We are co-heirs with Christ. We are the sovereigns, not government. And there is plenty of law, case law on their books that they wrote that tells us that. So when they put in God we trust, it is in God we trust. We, the social compact, because without the social compact, the trust, we finance everything. They're nothing. Government is nothing. They're bankrupt. And they will always be bankrupt. They're a nothing entity, a fictitious entity without us. We the people have all the power in the world. And just like your previous video before I came on, when he was talking about the Matrix, and at the end he realized how powerful he was. That's what we've got to do. We the people are all powerful. We are the sovereigns. Not them. They better pull my shoes off and wash my feet if I ask them.
He didn't talk about a foreign trust. Is that not a thing anymore, or?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of talk, David, about the 98 trust where people would call up the
Okay.
IRS and make a foreign trust.
Hold on, your jurisdiction on the land, your proper name trust is a foreign situs trust. And it's listed that under Title 26. Foreign situs trust. It's an irrevocable foreign situs trust. That's what you're creating.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Bo.
Online question here. Is the UPS store with mailboxes still a safe place to receive mail?
UPS store, David, is that safe for mail?
Well, nowhere safe. I think the most safe is an actual USPS post office box. Go online afterwards, sign up for package delivery, and then use their actual physical address with a unit number of the PO box. And I think that's the safest. The problem with UPS stores, FedEx stores, you don't know how that CEO manages their company, what they believe in. They could go bankrupt tomorrow. They could go out of business. They're pretty big. I doubt they will, but that's a distinct possibility. So, everything is a risk in life. Everything. You weigh your risks.
Right on, brother. Okay. Another online question.
Can David walk us through the steps to see our Cestui QV SP number traded on the Dun & Bradstreet, please? If I can do this, I can show others. So.
Yeah. If we could do it, we could all show others. Yeah. That's a great dream.
Walk us through the steps to see our Cestui QV number traded on the Dun & Bradstreet, please.
Yeah, I know it's important sometimes to show others because you got to be convincing to help others, but I've never done it. I don't find it that necessary. I do believe it is nice if we knew an approximate value of what our Cestui QV trust is. It is a business entity. I know people who have done it and looked it up on Dun & Bradstreet. They've made videos of it. My suggestion is search for those videos because they are out there. They do take them down all the time, but they are out there. So keep searching for those videos.
Yeah, and they did just change Dun & Bradstreet's website. They sent me a notification that they changed the way all things are filed now, and they're always doing that every time somebody figures it out. So just
well, now they've also created this SAM system or whatever it is, alternative to Dun & Bradstreet, where government doesn't have to list things on Dun & Bradstreet anymore.
Right.
So that's another monkey wrench in the whole thing. We used to just pull it up on Fidelity, and we would pull up the accounts on Fidelity, and we would find out what all the bonds are trading for. And if you got a Series 7 broker in the house, I suggest you let him learn how to do it and do it for you and others. Because Fidelity continues to change things. I know Brad Barton, he's done it many times on Fidelity and wrote a book on it, and then they immediately changed how you do it and made his book obsolete. So,
yeah. And then you got Bloomberg terminals too, right, David? There's something that we can do with the Bloomberg terminals, and
Yeah, and there are people with Bloomberg terminals, but that's hard to find, hard to get on. In fact, if you know somebody that has a Bloomberg terminal that'll allow us to get on, let us know, because we can go solve half the world's problems with what we know already if we had access to a Bloomberg terminal. So,
gentleman in the front there, go ahead.
Yes, how do you get the QSIP number for your trust?
The QSIP number for the trust, David. How would we get that for the Cestui QV trust?
I've always used a Series 7 broker who was willing for a small fee. We would give him our birth certificates or our social security numbers, and he would get us the QSIP numbers that are attached. In reality, with what we've learned through the Social Security Administration and other agencies and other law we've read in the last 2 years, you don't really need it. You really don't really need it. It's like one more distraction, one more complication that gets you off the path, and you got to come back around to the path.
Rabbit hole stuff.
All the path that I told you earlier of how to gain your trust, and you will gain. You don't even have to worry about the QSIP numbers on it. They've got it all. It's all on their records.
Yep.
You just make them hand it over to you.
Super. More questions there? You had a question?
Yeah, I once punched in my birth certificate number on treasurydirect.gov, and my friend told me that amount was the amount that they were trading on me a day, and the amount said 30,000 a day. Is David familiar with that? treasurydirect.gov.
Yeah, I know it.
Correct. Is there a question in there, or was that a statement?
Yeah. Yeah, but
They're online here. After doing the 1040X, going back 3 years, what needs to be written on the 1040X to get them to allow us to go back even further?
Nothing. You just fill out the 1040X, you get your return back, and then you can, it's the tax years you put at the top. So you can go back 3 years at the top. You say this is for tax years 2000, 23, 22, and 21. And then once you've done that, then you can go back 10 years. Then you can go back to the beginning. Those are the increments that the IRS code says you can do.
super. Any other subjects you'd like to go over? Any other questions? The hand in the back, please.
Can you explain what an IRS revocation of election means?
Yeah, so can you go through the IRS revocation of election and what that means?
Well, it's an opt-out. A revocation of election is once you filled out your very first 1040, I don't know how old you were when you did that, but when you filled out your very first 1040 form and you signed your name on it, you became a taxpayer. Your signature on the form, mailed it in, under the Stamp Act, you became a taxpayer. You marked you were a U.S. citizen. You put down your address as a resident. And that's what you became, a citizen, person, or resident, and a taxpayer in that moment in time. And so once you fill out the Form 56 and you tell who the fiduciary is, who the fiduciary responsibility is, and you take it over, then you can do the revocation of election. And that is just an opt-out. That means from this point on, I'm not paying taxes anymore. Gosh, I filled that out so long ago, guys. My last tax year that I paid taxes was 2005. So 2006 taxes were coming due in 2007 in April. And I decided from that moment on that I was opting out. And that's when I filled out my forms. I haven't even looked at a form since, hardly. Okay, I don't. So I'm just telling you what I did, and I haven't paid a dime of income tax since. And the reason for it, why pay income on a debt?
Great reason.
Right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. In the back there, you got your hand up. Yep.
Okay. If I'm gonna operate out of 3 different trusts or 4, do I have to have a bank account in the name of each one of those trusts?
No.
No.
No,
You can use-
only the ones you're going to operate commercially.
Mm.
And that would be your ministry, because you're going to give money to others. You're going to help others. It's the account you're going to transfer your money into. The God Trust guides your mind. Remember, this is what it's for. The God Trust is designed for this right here. It's to guide your mind, your heart, and your spirit to act and be under God's laws. And it guides your life. It's a life guide. It doesn't need a bank account. The God Trust does not need one. That's the jurisdiction of the air. It does not need one. It's designed for this. Your heart, your head, your mind, your heart, and your spirit. It guides you through life. It doesn't hold any titles at all. Nothing. It is how I control everything else. In God's spirit. That's what it's about. Your trust on the land, which is your proper name, upper and lower case, trust. That trust is literally to operate on the land through common law. It's what we used to put all of our titles into. I don't recommend putting my titles into that. I recommend to use it as a proper name protection so that they can't use item sonum against you because you've made the claim. Your all caps name has to have an ITIN and a bank account number, because that's your transfer account. That's the money you're going to move it out of government into that and then transfer it into your ministry. So the last trust, your ministry trust, that's where I now put all of my property. I'm just giving it all away to God. And I'm putting it in the ministry. And we'll use the benefits of that to help as many people as we can while we're here on this earth.
Yeah, and if that trust, David, needs to, let's say, contract with your other trust, you have that private right of contract as well for one of your other trusts to fulfill duties.
You're the trustee.
Correct. You have to do whatever's in the best interest of the trust. It's your
You have a
responsibility.
built-in contract.
Correct.
Because you have the ultimate authority. That's the fiduciary responsibility.
Can't break the trust.
Thank you.
Sir,
If, other than the trustee, does anyone have any authority over the ministry trust as to how the funds are used, how much funds are used, how it's spent? Does any power or authority of the government have any control over that trust as to what happens?
The government does not at all have any control over any trust, period. Other than your Cestui QV trust until you claim it. In that trust alone, they're the co-trustee and the co-beneficiary. But we're human beings with a body that can die. I can walk across the sidewalk, get hit by a truck. Anything could happen. So am I going to have more than one trustee? Absolutely. Who am I going to trust? My wife. She's a co-trustee with me. So I have two trustees. Okay? That was cute.
that's perfect to come out right there. It's like, it's absolutely what was necessary.
So anyway, in addition to that, your children and grandchildren are your beneficiaries. Okay? That's what we're here for. It's been done that way from Adam. Who begat whom, and who begat who, and who begat whom. All the way through time, through 6,000 years of the history of humans. We're in our 6,000th year, guys. And it's passed down from generation to generation. All your trust should be that way. Now, an executor, the guy that sets up your trust, you want ultimate protection of your trust, you get your best friend to be your executor. And you explain to him why you're doing it, and you offer to do it for him too. And you have somebody else be your executor to do very specific in your trust contract. His responsibility is to do very specific duties. And then he's done. He's absolved of any further responsibility. And those duties are to get you the EIN number on the trust. Okay. His job is to open the bank account. Hand him the silver. He's there with you at the bank. You walk in together. And he sets it up for you. My best friend Ron set up mine and Bonnie's. See? And now he's absolved of any duties because he did his job. And that's what we want. Okay?
Another question?
Here.
We've got one over there, and then I'll get to you, Julie. I promise.
Part of my question was just answered regarding, the generations before me, having it, Social Security Trust.
Right. Yeah,
carried forward.
Yep.
But part of that question also is when, family before me, the IRS tax records, would that also be something that one could
Claim?
claim, or even if you don't have their social security number, somehow or another put in, people before me, family before me?
So, David, did you get that? So basically, it's on the Cestui QV trust and on the IRS money that was paid in. Can we claim our parents and their parents, and is that a possibility to go back and claim on our ancestry?
On the 1040X.
Back 99 years, which for the United States, that's 1933. We can't go back 99 years. But the way it's written, you can go back 99 years to your parents and grandparents. First to claim. That means You might have siblings and they're not paying attention, but you're the wise one. You're the one with the fiduciary responsibility. You claim it. Claim your, right? If you, and then if you want to share with your siblings, I would suggest doing so, and maybe they'll straighten their butt out too.
And David, I'm assuming if we do it on our dead parents, we wouldn't be doing a affidavit in full life, correct?
Well, no, you're not. You have to go make the claim on yourself first. And then you can take control of your heirs all the way back.
So our social security claim has to go in first before we can actually.
Absolutely.
Our parents and grandparents.
Don't even bring the other one up, the parents and grandparents up until yours is claimed. The minute yours is claimed, as soon as they've done it and signed off on it and said, okay, say, I'm also claiming my parents and grandparents back 99 years. Here's their names and social security numbers and birth certificates. Boom. Have your documentation ready. Hand the board of trustees the file.
Nice. Julie's next.
Yeah, confusion. Sometimes the ministry trust is being called the God trust, yet one of the three trusts is also called the God trust. Please clarify God trust and ministry trust. Are they separate or are they the same?
They are two separate trusts. The God trust controls your mind, heart, and spirit. That's it. It is how I operate. And it rules over all trusts because the jurisdiction of the air is above the land, which is above the water. And your ministry is actually upon the land. You see what I'm talking about?
It's a common law ministry, right?
It's a common law ministry. It's a ministry to others. It's a ministry on the land. It's how we're supposed to walk this earth and how we're supposed to take care of our brothers and sisters and our families.
Yep.
That's why the four.
Next question.
Can I follow up to that?
Okay.
If I could do that. Do all those trusts need a board of directors that meet yearly, like you're used to with regular trusts?
Okay. Who are the board of directors? The board of directors really is assigned by the trustee, and it is the trustees. So you can do a yearly meeting minutes as trustees. You and your wife, your husband sit down and you talk about it.
Yep. And as we mentioned yesterday, it's a great thing when anybody asks you a question about your trust to tell them that you have to get with the board of trustees and the board of directors and go and speak to them. And I'll get back to you next year at this time because we only meet once a year. It's a great way to. Well, it depends. Your documents probably will say that. Okay, so your private right to contract is based on what your private right to contract says. So if your trust says that there's a board of directors meeting, and then you make minutes afterwards and it says this is when we have our meetings, then that's what you determine. You have to be the administrator of your trust, and you have to be the administrator of all of it. Those documents and those decisions that you make as trustee are yours and yours alone. Or with the other trustee or co-trustees or the board of trustees.
Exactly.
After it's set up. Yes, ma'am?
Can State National keep the professional license?
Can state nationals keep professional licenses?
Absolutely, because as a man or a woman, you have the ultimate right to contract. So you can keep those professional licenses, but once you do, understand that you are following by their rules, doing what they say. If you're working under that license, you're paying taxes under that license. Yeah, recommend it. It depends on what licenses you're talking about. It sounds to me like you're trying to save yourself by being licensed to do a particular skill. And I like to even tell doctors this. Would your patients love you enough that they're going to come back to see you, even if your doctor's office is in your home and you are no longer licensed, would they come to see you? Do they believe in you enough? And if your answer to that is yes, throw your license out the window, light it on fire, put a match to it. That's a decision you make. And then you're no longer regulated or obligated by government. You're under private contract with those people. Then you can set up a PMA and continue on. Goes the same for a contractor. Will your customers come to you to build their next house? Do they trust you enough? If you give them good enough value for the money, good enough work?
Now, David, one thing with that license that has been, I've known of people who have done that way, and I think that they have to formally rescission their license, because if they don't, if once you have a license, you have that license. That contract stands with the government. Just like if you have a marriage, that marriage always stands. So you have to annul that or rescind that particular contract. Otherwise, the state, even if you form a PMA, can come in and say you're working without a license, because that license, although it's expired, still exists in their rules, and you can have a negative impact on your life if you don't handle it correctly. So you gotta move that.
Gotta rescission any contracts you do not want.
And then the AMA will probably still fight you and say, license once, license always, and good luck with that. But you know, it's a really, especially when you're dealing in a healthcare profession, those guys are huge gangsters. Like, they're the biggest gangsters on the planet. So, you know, it's a tougher one, and I would just be very cautious when you're dealing with contractors, or one thing, but that AMA, they're the giantest mafia on the planet.
Did you sign for your license, all rights reserved?
Not.
I would have.
Yeah, of course.
You never sign your signature. You never leave your name out there naked. It's qualified.
Yep.
If it's all rights reserved, you can change the contract if you need to.
Yep. Sir?
Yes,
Should your PMA
Wait.
be inside your trust?
Should your PMA be inside the trust?
No. Keep it commercial.
Thank you.
Sir?
I have a friend who was in the service and she was seriously injured, and she depended on the government's health services. I was trying to get her to do an AOR, and she went to some official there at the VA and asked, would I lose my VA benefits if I filed a renunciation of citizenship? And she was told, yes, she would lose all rights.
Yeah, because, okay, let's get clear.
That's the wrong question.
Yeah, renunciation.
Yeah. What if I'm a non-citizen national? I mean, right now they're bringing military-aged men over the border who are illegal aliens and joining the military and giving them citizenship 2 years later. Okay? She asked the wrong question. She says that if she renounces her U.S. citizenship, well, of course, you're going to lose benefits.
This is just
national, she does not.
Well, it's a status correction, and you're doing a repudiation and not a renunciation. It's a different thing altogether. So if she comes in with the right question, she'll get the right answer, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, there's many people in the military who are state nationals now.
And they all have all their benefits.
Yep.
Sir?
The double authenticated birth certificate shall be held in the land trust.
Where do we hold our documents there, David? Where do you like them held in the?
I like the land trust for holding the birth certificates.
Thank you.
Yep.
I do.
It's a good place for things that are born on the land.
That's right.
Makes
Yes, sir.
David mentioned before to do the Form 56 before the ROE. Is it okay to do it in reverse? If I've already done an ROE, to go back and do my Form 56?
Yeah, absolutely. You can do many Form 56. Let's just say if I get dementia or Alzheimer's, I could do a Form 56, send it in, and my wife then makes all fiduciary for me.
Well, before you get Alzheimer's, but don't get Alzheimer's, David.
Right.
Just don't speak those words. And just don't let it happen.
Hold on a minute.
Yes.
Maybe that was a bad example. Okay, let's say in a
Please,
court,
better example. Come on, better examples. Thank you.
in a court case, you can actually make the prosecutor
Yes.
with Form 56 your fiduciary. And boy, now he has to comply.
Yep.
See, not the judge, make the prosecutor. Then he has to comply. And the judge then you can use the judge to force him to comply. Yeah, under the Power of Appointments Act. It's exactly. You can use the Form 56 for various specific purposes. It sounded like silence.
Would that make him responsible for the taxes as well, David?
It does.
Yeah. So think about that.
Say it again?
I asked David if that would make them responsible for the taxes as well, and he said
Yeah.
yes. So
And
think about
the
that.
1099 with it. Hand him a copy of the 1099 with a copy of the Form 56 you've sent in.
Yep. And then the prosecutor becomes responsible for the taxes. And that's the last thing they want to be responsible for because it's their case in the first place. So they're the ones trying to make the money on it. They got to pay the taxes. Yes, sir.
Can you do that with the Form 56 in a civil lawsuit?
It's all the same. It's all the same.
Absolutely. Here's another one. The governor and the attorney general. You can put them in charge.
Yep. So if we have a claim contract for the insurance with the state, we can Form 56 them and make them in charge of that claim.
That's right.
Nice. Good solution. I love you, David.
So how do you go about learning to fly a plane, helicopter without a license? That's the
Is that what it has?
Yeah, you can actually add the governor and the attorney general in on the lawsuit after you've done the Form 56 and provided them with notice that they're your fiduciary now.
Nice.
Then you can make them co-plaintiff with you.
Love it. So it would be the governor versus the state.
Right.
Nice. That's a great position of 3D chess to put them in.
Right.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Sir.
So do all of these Form 56s just stack up like cordwood and get confusing, or is the last one that you submit take precedent over the rest?
No. There is some blank lines on there on a Form 56 where you can write in the specific duty. This fiduciary has specific duties of this regarding this. That's it.
Yeah, so it's a limited power of attorney in that case. It's very specific.
Correct.
And it's not broad for everything in your life. So if you give the judge or the prosecutor, the Form 56, it's only going to be for that specific case to act as your fiduciary. It's not going to be for future cases or for making sure that your mortgage payment gets paid. Right.
Can they reject it?
Can they reject
it? This is all, can they reject it? It's pretty hard to reject once it's already sent in and they're getting a copy, they're getting notice. Okay, but here's, I lost my train of thought there. We'll get back to it. It'll come back in a minute.
But Form 56, the power of attorney and being specific and limited in what it is, and can they reject that appointment? They would have to rebut the appointment probably.
They would.
Yeah, and they'd have to file another form rejecting it, and it's already on file with the IRS, and you could already hit them with the bill for the taxes before that happens. And then they got a whole can of worms because then they're going to need to get audited. And then you got the prosecutor getting audited, and wow, does his life and his wife really get mad?
Okay, here's my thought. I just got it back. So this is the reason a lot of people, many people in this room have probably heard of the word subrogation.
Yep.
Okay, subrogation is where you're switching places. So a prosecutor is bringing a case against you, you subrogate, thereby making him the defendant and you're the prosecutor. Okay, subrogation only really truly works when a Form 56 is filed.
Yep.
And notice has been given.
And just so you know, subrogation is a very common insurance term when you substitute one party for another. So say you are a contractor and that client has a insurance company. So you're substituting that insurance company for that client, and that's subrogation. So it's just switching roles, and it's used very common in insurance because as we've been uncovering, this whole thing is just insurance. Oh.
All right. Back to that question about airplanes and trains and automobiles.
I thought you were joking.
If you are landing on federal property, aren't you subjecting yourself to their jurisdiction?
Well,
you mean airport, yeah.
Yes, you are.
Which means that you would need a license, correct?
Well, hold on a minute.
All right.
We've had a state national who is a private pilot with a small plane who lands on private airfields only, and he has done very well, exceptionally well, at defending himself against the FAA.
Yep.
Okay. But he only lands on private airstrips. So you're limiting your flight. You have the right to travel. It doesn't say it has to be on a car on the road. It doesn't say it has to be by a boat on the sea. It can also be as a bird in the air. But you've got to land on private airstrips, not public.
Yep.
It's probably cheaper that way too. I got another question for you.
Well, here's one more part of that answer. Okay, this is recent. Since June 1st, the Supreme Court of the United States has passed case after case after case after case that is adding up to a restoration of the Republic.
Yep.
And Judge Gorsuch came out with another book, as well as his older book, and judges are starting to follow that across the country. And that's just what just happened with this JP judge in Houston, Texas, who recalled tens of thousands of warrants for being unconstitutional. The country is in the process of switching back to common law. And the more we can educate our judges, more we can educate our police, our people and attorneys, which are going to be next to impossible to educate because they're just crazy anyway.
Ignorant
of the law. They're ignoramuses of the law.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can school attorneys all day long. Okay, now, but the more the word gets out there, the more there are personal beliefs in our heart that we're going back under common law, the more we're going to win over and over and over again. EPA versus West Virginia, SEC versus Jarkissi, Loper Bright and Raimondo versus U.S. That's the Chevron deference case. Okay, now here's the issue. Did the FAA create that rule as policy? Because I don't believe our legislatures created a law saying you
Yep.
can't land on that federal property. And if they created it as a policy, that can be challenged.
Oh, yeah.
It can be challenged under the Constitution directly. And you need to find out who your Supreme Court representative is for your state. And send it direct to him.
So let's go flying, guys. Yeah. Yeah.
Helicopters though.
We got another question in the back. Yes, ma'am.
As a state national, can you still be a public notary?
Public notary, David, as state national. Can you work for the government and still be a state national?
Yes, you can. You can contract with anyone you want.
Yep.
Sign all contracts, all rights reserved.
Sign all contracts, all rights reserved.
That's a great way to be a notary. Maybe somebody in the room wants to be one. Yep.
All right, does the revocation of election, make your social security trust non-taxable?
Again, your Social Security trust is in Federal Reserve notes. How do you tax a debt?
Sigh. That one's for you.
What about being on city council?
What about it?
Oh, is it? What kind of? Yeah, what, is that person, how?
Well, it's harder to throw rocks. When you're throwing rocks at City Hall from the outside, you're going to get in a little more trouble than if you're on the inside making the change. So, you know, as an American national, that's exactly where you should be. Good.
Yeah. More of us should hold offices.
Absolutely. Yes?
Going back to the public notary, there's something I'm missing. So if I change my name, right?
If you change your name,
If I change my name, so then I have to reapply for public notary with the new name? I just don't understand how that would work.
there you go, David. That's a real twister.
What's that?
The name change. So if she changes her name, what would she have to reapply for the public notary in her name change decree that she has done?
Well, she would at least have to notify the state notary service that she has changed her name.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between constitutional law and common law? I've heard there's a difference, and that the common law is still statutes and ordinances, but the Constitution is the one we should be using rather than the common law. Could you explain that?
Yeah, so David, the question was common law versus constitutional law, and what is the difference, basically? Should we be using the constitutional law? Should we be using the common law? And where do we go in that aspect?
Well, the Constitution is superior and the Constitution is common law.
So there you go.
It is. This nation was founded under common law, the common law rules of England, and we wrote our constitutions to comply with that.
Yep. Supreme law.
Just another notary question. I've been led to believe that when you set up your notary section on your document, if you put the terms in New York State rather than State of New York capitalized, County of whatever instead of capitalized, and set up your jurat in that way, that the signature of the notary becomes valid as two people as opposed to one as a corporate notary. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I know everything about that.
Wonderful.
See, here's the thing. It's back to knowing your jurisdictions and how this country was created and what we do. You have a notary, you have a notary public, and you have a notary republic. And one notary licensed with the state can be all three. 3 notaries are equal to a judge. Okay? A notary can do a presentment, and you can do notary presentments. You don't know how powerful a notary is. You're an officer of the court. You can actually do presentments. How the person writes their documents determines whether it's a notary republic, or a notary public. And I've been teaching that for many, many years in my classes. So you're exactly correct. There is the state of whatever, all caps. That's a fictitious entity. There's the state, upper and lowercase, that's the state of nobility. State of nobility. Then there's the lowercase state, and that's the king. The king, that's the people, the sovereign. That's lowercase. In fact, I'm going to tell you something funny. I'm sitting right now at a friend's desk, and look at this.
Can't see it.
Move it over to the right a little bit, David.
Okay. It says state equals slave, all caps. State upper and lowercase equals nobility, and state all lowercase equals king. That's sitting right here on my friend's desk.
There you go. I love your friends, David.
I love my friends too. They're the greatest people in the world.
We got a compliment, on top of that question. Do you get 3 notaries at the same time in the same place, or 3 separate notaries in different places?
That is 3 separate. You would, to equal a judge, you get 3 different notaries to notarize the same document.
At the same time, correct?
And can we get those 3 notaries? So can we put uppercase, caps, and lowercase in his notary position and have him fill all 3 positions as one?
Okay, he does one notary.
Yep.
Already fills all 3 positions depending on how you write the document.
So we can write it that way for him to fill all 3. He signs once and it's qualified that way, or he has to sign 3 times?
No, hold on a minute.
Okay.
If you write a document, and I don't have one handy, but if you wrote a document and it says lowercase state of, or state, Oregon, say, for instance, lowercase state, Oregon, upper and lowercase. That is the jurisdiction of what?
The nobility.
The land, the nobility. Right?
Yeah.
We are the king of the nobility, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now we sign it. Now it's signed by the king. That notary notarizes it. That becomes a notary republic. Okay, because it's a government document.
Okay.
We're going to present. So no matter how we write the top of the document, we could write it all caps, state of Oregon. Now he's just a notary. We could write it upper and lowercase, state of Oregon. Now he's a notary public. All lowercase. So you see what I mean? We can write the document in one jurisdiction.
You can only write the document in one jurisdiction.
Correct. And then the notary signs it and he becomes either a notary public, or a notary republic.
Yep.
Now, if you have 3 notaries, say we have 3 notaries in the class, you set them down at a table, you say, hey, I have this document, it's a very important document. I would like to do it as an order, thereby mandating my public servants to act. I would like all 3 of you notaries to notarize and witness my signature. Now, 3 notaries witness my signature on that document. That's the same thing as a judge signing the order.
Okay.
But now Now, it has to be presented by a notary.
Notary presentment. Yep.
That's right.
Yep. And if your notary doesn't know how to do that, just send an email over to info@freemanbot.com. I have a guy that does that, and he does it pretty well, if necessary.
Right.
Okay, a lot of hands are raised now, David. So, yes, sir.
I have a question, maybe I missed it.
You're going to sign your name 3 times each, or, one in the notary book.
In each of their book.
Of the 3 notaries signing that one document. And then when it's presented by the notary, is it one of those 3 notaries, or is this a separate notary that is able to present as an officer of the court?
Okay, so this whole thing is getting super confusing, David.
And I tried to make it as simple as possible.
I know. So we've got 3 notaries. One is named Bob, one is named Jim, and one is named Bo.
They're all at the same bank.
Yeah, and they're all at the same place. They each have a separate document, or it's one document all 3 can sign?
It's one document they all sign. It's.
Yeah, there's 3 different notary sections at the bottom witnessing the signature.
Correct. So
Correct.
Out of the 3 notaries is when it goes to court to be presented by a notary, can one of those 3 notaries be the one presenting as an officer of the court, or is it a separate? Is there an additional notary that has to go present it?
It is better if it is one of them.
Okay.
Yep. It does the presentment.
Okay.
There you go.
That's it. Thank you.
Question?
Could you use that for your name change?
Could you use that for your name change?
I don't know why you can't use it for any legal document.
There you go.
The problem is you better be noticing the right places. That's the key. Because if you notice the wrong individual, you can't sue Sam and notice John.
Right. And there is a corrections department at Health and Human Services that is responsible for those birth certificates that have your name. So they do have a corrections department and a corrections person who is in charge of errors and corrections on those specific documents. You just have to find that person in your county or state.
Perfect, Adam. Thank you.
What's the presentment again? Like, you got the 3 notaries.
Yes.
The question is.
A notary presentment. So
you have a notary presented in your stead.
Yes, so a notary will actually send it and witness it. So they'll take that document, they'll witness it, which is called a notary presentment.
They're going to deliver just like a sheriff delivers a warrant.
Yep.
Next question. Execute the document is what they do.
That's it? Any questions? David, we're out of questions.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Oh, we got it.
Well, we got one more hand.
If a notary is doing a presentment, would it be filed into a court record, into the public record? Where would it be filed?
Well, what you do afterwards is going to be determined on what kind of document they're presenting. Usually it is filed in a court case. Yeah. You know, it's the seals of those notaries that really matter.
Yep.
How many seals do you have? Just one seal.
Yep. And I tend to have them also do registered mail for me in their presentments as well. So that's another thing that they can do. Yes?
In previous seminars, David, you have talked about getting these embossed seals, one for the land, one for the air, one for the water, embossed. When you say how many seals you have, do we just use our thumb and not do those embossed seals as taught before?
Yeah, absolutely. If you watch some of my old videos, and if you've got my my little book training manual that's about that thick, you'll see an example in there of 3 different seals for each jurisdiction. You can have a seal for each jurisdiction. You can have a fourth one for your ministry. Okay?
Yes?
But when you say we only need one, do we need those seals anymore like that, or do we just use our one seal? Some.
I recommend a separate seal for each jurisdiction. I really do. You want to separate the jurisdictions if possible. That way, if you ever have a conflict or a controversy, you can show a judge, hey, look, my intent, remember how important the word intent is. My intent was to act in this jurisdiction. Here's how you tell, Your Honor, by this seal. He can't argue with that.
I want to get back to the Cestui Trust and Social Security. Who would we sending in all our documents to? Who in Social Security would we send all those documents to? You know, the affidavit and the.
What department?
Like, what department do we send it to?
First of all, you're not going to send it to him. You're not going to send it to him because you want to take your Social Security card in with you and it has to be presented in person. So you take your documents in a file to the Social Security Administration. You pull a little number like you do at DMV, and when you get called up to the window, you walk up there with your file, and it's got a cover letter that you can slide across first, spread out your documents, let them see each and every one along with your Social Security card, because that's what they created. You don't even own that. They own it. You can't send it through the mail. You go in there, and this is why I say take the POM manual, take their employee handbook, because they don't know. I talked to a Social Security person at the window who had never read the employee handbook. They didn't even know what the POM's manual was. They were trained by whoever trained them in their job. So they went to work one day and they came into the office and somebody says, I'm your trainer for the day, sit and watch.
Yep.
And they were trained. And they'd been there a few years and had never read the employee handbook and didn't know the POM's manual. I knew Social Security law better than them by 1,000 times because I had just got done reading them.
Yes, Bill.
All right, online question here. When it comes to the birth certificates to claim the Social Security trust, can you alter the birth certificate or get it changed? And is that beneficial or recommended?
Well, first of all, are you a man or a woman? If you're a woman and you've been married, you have different names. And if you're changing your name, it might be different, you know. And if it's different, name change is different, yes, you're going to go down there and change it. If you're a man, I don't really care whether it's all caps and upper and lowercase, whatever they created and handed to you. If it's first, middle, and first, middle, initial, and last name, it doesn't matter. The reason I tell you that is Adam Sonam. It's Idem Sonam, IDEMSONAM. Look it up. This is a doctrine government operates on. Remember, they operate on doctrines all the time that aren't law, that aren't truth.
Looks like a duck.
Yeah.
That again. The acronym. Repeat.
It's Latin, actually. It's not an acronym. You want to repeat the Latin there, David?
IDEM.
D as in dog or B?
SONAM.
Yeah, and you can just Google search and reverse, looks like, sounds like Latin etymology of
It's
that.
item sonum.
Yeah. Item is the same. It's the same thing to them. So it doesn't really matter to them. Yeah.
So if you're saying it really doesn't matter, does that mean it doesn't matter whether it's all caps or upper and lower?
It doesn't matter to them, they're just
It
gonna
only matters
hear
with our intent.
Yep.
We control how they handle things. To them, it doesn't matter. They'll use whatever it sounds like. That's why if you stand in court and say, my name is David Lester Straight, they don't know how you spelled it.
Yeah.
It sounds,
STRATE, they don't care. They're gonna spell it however they wanna spell it, however it sounds. You know, capital, lower, all capital, they don't care. And they're gonna spell it wrong probably for a lot of reasons too.
Right, because you're not the all capital name. But if your birth certificate is an actual lowercase, upper lowercase, like it's supposed to be, but you're the printed name that the government uses all caps, and we're supposed to go through this name change process. And then you go to the judge says, well, there is no difference. You're kind of stuck.
Well, it's the intent for you. That's what David's meaning. So
no, you're not stuck. What you are is you've got to prove it. You got to prove jurisdiction. Jurisdiction must be proven. And that goes both ways, as for you and for the court.
If the court refuses to prove that, they refuse to take your explanation, and they say that they're right.
Maybe they're giving you either a helpful hint and they are right and you're wrong and you need to look into it more, or they're just being the nasty bastards they sometimes are. And what you have to do is then give them a judicial notice, which is evidence, and you put that evidence on the record, and then when it's all said and done, you holler appeal and you take it to a 3-judge panel.
Okay.
Okay? Judicial notices are evidence.
Yeah.
Understand that.
And that one that Judge Gorish wrote would be good.
Yeah. Well, there's some new ones too that David just sent over that we just completed sanitizing. So there's some ones you'll find on freemanbot.com inside. So we'll have those up if they're not already up now. David, I got a question about the judicial notice. So let's say we also notice the judge in the particular case via registered mail with that judicial notice, and they receive it and then they send it back. Is that concealing evidence if they don't put that evidence on the record?
It is.
Okay. Wow. Amazing.
All right, you guys, just remember when you go to vote, all right? Just remember this right here. Isn't that a pretty picture?
They shouldn't be voting in their elections.
They both look good in bikinis, huh?
I just had to do that.
Yeah.
Today was going so good.
I mean, I have many pictures of them together, by the way. And there she is in
Oh, yeah.
Working her way through law school.
Oh, David.
Oh my gosh.
So just remember that when you go to vote. All right, any other questions? Just had to have a little joke in there to lighten the moment.
Yeah. Do we need to have a land patent to claim the Social Security trust?
No. Some people don't even have property.
Yep.
I just question this. I heard a bunch of people say we don't vote. As a New York State national, and as a secured party creditor, I control my all caps name little guy. And so I can have him, straw man, whatever. I can order my straw man to go vote. So there's no reason why he can't vote, correct?
That's right, you can. You're exactly right.
If you think anybody counts them.
Yeah, you got to believe that the voting is fair.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the polls. The polls showed Trump at 49% and her at 47%. She had 100 people at her last rally. Trump had thousands and thousands and thousands of people at his rally. How's that even possible?
Julie.
Back to the IRS. Many of us have gotten the third letter from the IRS, private letter ruling, where they say we don't have any more business with you. I filed that at the county to make it public and certified it. How strong is that?
Extremely.
Okay.
Yeah, wow. Julie, you went all the way.
Yep.
Nice.
Three of us have in our group.
Nice. Give yourselves a big round of applause there. Nice. Keep it up. Nice. Yep.
So there's a couple of comments, questions, and there's even some chatter. If you guys go onto the, we'll post some of this stuff, but a lot of the pictures David just showed are on his actual Telegram channel, which we will give you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna email all that stuff out for clarity again, because there's a lot of, David actually is on David Straight Mastermind Telegram channel posting. Here's David. Let's authorize that. I swear that David is actually posting things there, and it's actually the real David Straight. So
it is.
Meet him. That's the only place to find him. Everywhere else is bullshit, and it's complete fakes, copies, non-authenticated, non-humans doing these kind of things. So this is the only place you're going to find David. Yes, sir.
One other thing directed to you, David. I hope you're feeling better, and I hope you get better every day.
Thank you.
I had Julie stamp my passport for the stamp that you usually use, and then she witnessed underneath it. I was just asking her what the authority was on that, under the endorsement on the passport.
It's a republic form of government. It's a government of the people, by the people. She's a witness before God. There you go.
That's good enough for me.
Hey, David, I've got one question for you. I've been trying to push the passport thing pretty deeply. And where it says the Secretary of State permits, so it says it's a permit from the Secretary of State, because it says the word Secretary of State and permit, allows for, I don't quote me on anything because I'm not the guy with the exact terminology, but to travel or pass freely, unencumbered, without somebody hassling me. And the TSA.
Secretary of State of the United States permits a citizen or national to pass freely without delay.
Yes, without delay. So my question is, because I've been kind of pushing this, so I pushed this when I was over in Asia, and it didn't end with me like having enough time to push it that far. So I'm thinking about on my travel out, I'm going to push it pretty far with the TSA. I really don't want to be unencumbered. I don't want to be fondled. I don't want my suitcases to be gone through, and I don't want to be encumbered by them doing that. What would you say that we could do to really protect our rights and stand on a permit where it could end better, or it could be, let's say, an educational moment to where we do this. I know you mentioned the ambassador passport and these kind of things, but with the passport we hold, it says that that's our right. And every time I go through TSA, my rights are getting crapped on. I mean, I'm getting like,
They're
I
getting
don't
worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, it's getting absolutely worse.
You know why? Because they have a huge turnover of employees. They hire tons of people, and they've spent billions of dollars and not one terrorist stopped.
Yeah.
And so they're trying their best to catch anybody just so they can say that they're a legitimate organization of government who actually stops a terrorist. And they've never stopped a single person.
Right.
Any terrorist act.
So if you have any suggestions, like, because I'm going through again, and I'm going to ask for a supervisor and stop encumbering me and like keep moving, because this whole thing needs to stop. This 9/11,
right?
We could go through the airport normally before 9/11.
You already have had your record checked, your NCIC checked to get the passport. The Secretary of State's already signing off.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what you tell them. And until I've been found guilty of terrorism, which I'm not, and I never will be, then you don't have any rights. And I'd let them know Chevron deference was just overturned. And those are policies of the TSA that are not law.
Yep.
Okay, TSA is not even a legitimate organization.
Right. Yeah.
So would it be beneficial for a state national or American national to get a TSA pre-check for any reason?
I didn't hear that.
TSA pre-check.
You want to know your thoughts on TSA pre-check?
I'm TSA pre-check.
There you go.
With your passport?
With the passport, or did he have to?
With my passport. Yeah, and they're trying to do that Real ID Act. Well, the passport is a real ID.
Already, it's got the chip in it. You don't even have to show them the passport anymore.
Right.
You just walk up, say, "Are you Adam?" Say, "Yep." They say, "Okay, welcome to America." Yep. Yep.
I did my passport and I did not ask for a supervisor and asked them I didn't give them my, affidavit of recommendation, but I did everything else correct. Will it still show my status?
Okay, so she didn't ask for a supervisor when she got her new passport. She didn't show the affidavit of repudiation. Will it still show up in her passport if she sent in the paperwork and did everything else correctly?
Okay, I'm glad somebody asked this question because I wouldn't have thought of it. And this is a good thing to explain. I want to explain right now the power of the people, the power of the state national. We have garnered so many people in the United States that the State Department has changed their form. You don't need to take your affidavit in. You don't need to do anything different than anyone else. Their form is now already listing a non-citizen national. Their form has changed. It is how you fill out the form, how you put the addresses, how you put the zip codes, that kind of stuff. Go to coppermoonshinestills.com. He does a great job of keeping up to date on how to fill out the darn form. And the new forms have changed. You need nothing but your alternate IDs, your application, and your 2 photographs. That's
And you got to
it.
pay a little bit of money.
Now you can even send it through the post office and get it back correct because the forms have changed. And it's how you filled out the application. It's not like it used to be where we used to have to go to the passport agency itself. We had to fight with somebody. Then we had to fight with the supervisor or somebody. And then finally, standing strong, we got a passport. That's what I had to do 13 years ago. I got my new passport. My new passport was super simple.
Nice. Is there any update, David, on the European Americans, the United States of Europe? let's say our friends over there and them getting their US passports? Has there been any update there or what?
They're waiting on DHL right now.
Okay, super.
And I
Super.
just
So there'll
spoke
be
to him
big news
yesterday.
coming out soon.
I just spoke to him yesterday.
Awesome. Awesome. Cause that's like really, I can't wait to hear about it. So right on, guys, and keep up the good work. Yes.
The State Department has my two passports. Passport that was lost, which was actually stolen, and its replacement, which was also stolen, and they're all expired. Is that?
Was it stolen by the cops?
Sorry?
Was it stolen by the cops, he said?
Stolen by my mistress.
Oh, okay.
Is she cute? Yeah, he's bragging. He's bragging.
So, is the State Department having my two expired passports an impediment?
To get the new one.
Getting a new state national passport.
You can get a new state national passport, but if you've lost more than one passport that was good and not expired, they would probably limit you in the time frame, 1 year.
They're going to give you the 1 year passport and then you're going to have to reapply and do it again.
Well, they weren't. The first passport I thought was lost, and I reapplied. That one was taken by a federal marshal and dispatched to the State Department.
So it was taken by the cops.
It was taken by the cops, yeah.
Okay. So that's a different answer there again, David.
I see that.
Yeah. We finally got to the truth and the truth, yes.
Yeah.
His mistress, the federal marshal. Yeah. You're going to watch that one.
Well, that could happen, but the odds.
That can happen, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
The mistress turned the original passport into the marshal when he
look.
Okay.
Just fill out a DS-11 like you've never had one.
Yep.
A passport and go turn it in, and they'll do what they're going to do. They'll either give you a limited passport in time frame instead of 10 years, it'll be 1 year, and make you apply again a year from now. In which case, then they'll give you a 10-year passport.
Yep.
But just reapply.
Like fresh out of school.
Yep. That was the best answer of the day. By the way, thank you for that. Yes. The binder? Yeah.
Police documents.
The police documents, David. So are those in the binder?
Which ones?
Whatever documents you drive around with, it's in your binder. Yeah, I think that's in your binder, right?
It is. Once I transferred all the titles into the ministry trust and licensed the vehicles under the ministry trust, insured them under the ministry trust, carry a declaration page of the ministry trust in a file folder. I don't ever even use those anymore because it's not worth fighting someone on the side of the road. Okay, it's not worth it. Let the ministry own the vehicle. It's held in trust. If a police officer stops you, you roll the window down, you hand him the file folder. All the information is in there. The registration, the license, the insurance card, and the declaration, and say this is trust protected property. And
David, we even use notices that you can put on your vehicles that say, this is the property under the sole authority of Jesus Christ, and no one is allowed on this property without written permission of the trustee of your trust. And then you sign it and authorize it, and that's a good way that you can put on all of your properties, including your homes and your vehicles and everything like that. So it kind of preempts their even asking the question because you already tell them beforehand how you're operating your vehicle in that capacity. You're operating it as a trustee. So
Yeah.
you sign that notice also as trustee. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so back to, I guess, passports, but with a twist. I don't know if I, spent money wisely or crazy. It's a transportation worker identification credentials, and I'm wondering if that is something, that I have in my possession, if you're familiar with it, if it's good, bad, or indifferent.
Well, there's always benefits and pitfalls. The pitfalls, if you're a transportation worker, you're a U.S. citizen, you're working in the District of Columbia, and you have to pay taxes.
Okay, all right.
Pitfalls.
Okay, I was just wondering, because when I went to a military base here in Minnesota, I showed them my TWIC instead of my driver's license, and the guard says, "Oh, a TWIC?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I've heard that there's good things about it." And he says, "Oh yeah." And he left it at that.
Right. Right. When interacting with military or other government agencies, it's going to have some benefits.
Okay.
But again, it comes with the pitfalls.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
If this country goes under martial law, what impacts will that have on state nationals?
Well, first of all, we've been under martial rule since 1861, and martial law is not far from that. And in fact, they've been using the emergency fact that they do a declared emergency, and we've been operating under that for 10 years, which effectively already puts us under martial law, and we've already had some problems with that. And what it does is it allows FEMA or the military to take over. Now, I have a lady that her employer flew a very large United States military flag over his business, and the military just showed up last week and informed her that they're going to be using her business over the next several weeks as a outpost, and they've stationed military personnel with military vehicles out front of the business. Well, needless to say, driven away quite a few customers.
You think so?
but they can't do a darn thing about it because they flew the flag and designated their business as a military outpost. And you do the same thing at home with the war flag, the military can stop in and ask for food and quarters.
Yep.
What if you find the police flag? What if the police stop travel or anything like that?
Police stop travelers every day. So what are you getting to?
Yeah.
Can they stop commerce?
They stop it every day.
Look, hold on. They're a private for-profit corporation acting and pretending to be government under the color of law, and they're all suable. You can even file writs of quo warranto, dissolve their corporate charter, simply because they're disobeying the Constitution, which they swore an oath to uphold and protect. There's no reason there's not a whole bunch of state nationals owning police stations, sheriff's departments, government agencies, and courthouses. We should be owning them, dissolving their corporate charters. There's no reason, except us not doing it. And as ambassadors, we have direct access to the Supreme Court. And if we write our Supreme Court writ of Cestui under question with a writ of quo warranto attached and a mandamus to dissolve, we should be able to shut any of it down, all of it down.
Let's try.
Well, it's just numbers of people. How many signatures can we get?
Thank you.
Yeah. I think you're going to see some important things happen over the next, maybe in about 3 days from now, and, over the next few weeks. Because I know of things that are happening.
Yep.
That was
And there's little things happening that add up to a lot.
David, that was gonna be my question. I was gonna ask in the pause if you would catch us up on some kind of inside baseball here of what you know or what you can say is going on that you're aware of.
Well, as you know, the Supreme Court of the United States has what's called a hidden docket. And you can actually look at the hidden docket and see what's on it. Yeah, it's a shadow docket.
How do you find it?
On their website.
I found it on Lexington.
Okay.
Is that the Brunson case?
Well, that could be part of it. You see, there's a lot of things that are coming into play. And right now is the first time in history, and it has been going on for over 3 years, since January. We've had 2 presidents in office at the same time. 2 presidents of 2 different governments operating in the same nations, in the same nation states. And that's going to cause some conflict. It's going to cause some conflict when it's revealed. And we're about to come into things, and the CIA's been preparing you for it. The intelligence agencies have been preparing you for it. They gave you Willy Wonka. They gave you Civil War. They're going to give you a lot of different movies this year that are all going to prepare you for what's coming. And that's all they've been doing for the last 3 years. Every movie coming out, just about, is a due process movie. It's giving you due process of what's coming. How many people in the room have seen Willy Wonka? Adam can tell me how many raised their hands.
About half the room.
About half the room.
Yeah.
Did you understand the movie when you watched it? Did you understand it was about contracts? It was about sovereign silver. Did you understand it was about unconscionable contracts? Did you understand how the police were involved? Did you understand the reason for the 3 chocolate companies that were trying to run and control the monopoly? Do you understand how it came about in paying the debt? That was a due process movie. Go home, watch it again. Carefully.
And David, just so, did you watch it? Because it's also about chocolate and sugar.
Leave it.
Yes, it is.
Leave it.
Yes, it is. Yes, that one's the movie for you, okay? Yeah.
Also about masterminding at the end. They all came together and formed a mastermind.
In which one?
Wonka.
They all came together and formed a mastermind at the end.
That's right.
Nice.
Yep, absolutely beautiful. Things are going to get worse before they're going to get better. The Bible tells us it will.
David, we got another question?
Yes, I was gonna ask, I work for a school district during the pandemic. I was suspended for 7 months for refusing to wear a mask. So I ended up getting my job back, but I'm kind of one not to sit back and kind of take that crap from anybody.
Nice.
So I found a loophole recently. I'm from Illinois, and in the state codes for the school board, I have found out that the school board members in my district actually have taken the wrong oath. So now I need to go to the sheriff to make them uphold that oath. So I guess my question is, I'm not too sure if our sheriff's on the up and up. So if he refuses to basically take a stand on that, what my next entity would be to do, or how I would go further.
Your sheriff is weak. Replace him. You go be the sheriff. He's weak. He's incompetent. He's not a constitutionalist. Okay, you want to see a competent sheriff? It's the one that just killed a judge in Kentucky. Yeah, 1,000 people ought to show up at his trial and demand he be freed because he did the right thing.
David,
Yeah,
back in Claremore, you gave us we got a packet that we're supposed to deliver to our sheriffs. Is that something that somehow she could get it downloaded to deliver to her sheriff?
you know, many years ago, we had the Constitutional Sheriff's Handbook. Some of you have probably seen that. We mailed that to 3,300 sheriffs around the country. What happened? What got changed? Very little. And the reason why is I think we were ahead of the curve. I think it should be done all over again.
I agree.
With the Gorsuch letter.
I'm sorry, what?
You said with the Gorsuch letter.
Well, absolutely. How about with Gorsuch's whole brand new book?
Yeah.
That man alone is changing this country. I mean, he's doing a fabulous job with getting the word out.
Was it Overcome? Was that the name of this book? I think it was Overruled. Overruled?
Yeah. Yeah, buy his book and he's written more than one book. He wrote one in 2022, I believe. And then he has a new one that just recently came out. Buy his book, support the man.
What's it called?
Hey, David, it's Yvette from Hawaii. Thank you so much. I wanted to know, what are you doing to improve your health right now because we need you to take good care of yourself. So what are you taking for your health?
Well, I'm trying to transfer my brain to yours. But yeah, I'm on a special diet. I'm doing ozone treatment. I'm doing therapy, frequency treatments. I'm doing oxygen treatments. Okay. So I've changed my diet completely. I drink my hated drink, water. That's all.
Good.
So I haven't had any sugar, any candy, any coffee. Oh, that's a killer.
No paydays, David.
Notice right over there is a beautiful espresso machine. And I can't have one. It's like I'm sitting in a torture chamber right now. Anyway.
It's gonna taste so good when you finally can, David. It's gonna taste
and look at all those bottles of sugar by the refrigerator there. I can't have any of that.
Temptation everywhere. Yep.
Sour soft.
Good.
Yeah.
Bonnie, are you there? Can we see Bonnie?
Yes, we can see.
We're hearing you whisper there. We want to see you. Come into the picture, please. Everybody wanted to hear and see from you. And
Yes, David is drinking soursop soda. We talked about it yesterday. That is a known, it is a known.
Juice, not soda.
Oh, sorry. Yes, thank you for correcting me. Soursop juice that has nothing in it but soursop fruit. That is a known cancer destroyer. It takes on the name graviola, which you can take in capsule or pill form. He also has that in liquid form, so he drops that under his tongue with a dropper.
I have the oil, yeah.
He's treating the oozing incision that's, right under his sternum all the way down, close to his pelvic bone. I've had abdominal surgery because I've had a C-section baby before, right? So I understand getting those muscles cut is not fun. However, I don't remember any oozing. David says, oh, this is normal. Well,
not normal.
We've been no, and it's not, especially if there's an odor. So it appeared to have some sort of infection. Now, he has been very faithful in dousing the incision with DMSO, colloidal silver, comfrey, which weaves the flesh back together quickly and heals wounds quickly, as well as frankincense and myrrh, which are all antibacterials. And so the DMSO takes all those elements and takes them below the surface of the skin. So it starts to take it, you put it topically on the skin, but it takes it below the skin level. Yep. And that is something that we can already tell a difference between yesterday and today, with a lot less drainage from the incision site, him looking better, feeling better, having more energy, you're not as in pain today either, right? No. He was dealing with some pain last night, but doing better today. And, every day, just like we talked about yesterday, when he's taking a pH strip and just spitting on it and seeing the color that it turns when he's a 7 or above, his body's at a high pH, meaning his body's alkaline and not acidic.
7.5 or above is higher.
Yeah, and he was a 7.6 yesterday, which means that every day that his body is alkaline, his body is healing and winning the war over cancer. And if he were to have sugar, coffee, anything that makes his body acidic, then cancer could then thrive and multiply and all that other stuff. Now, yesterday, you spit on a strip and I spit on a strip, and we ate the same thing, except for I had coffee and I had like a chocolate.
And I won.
And he got a 6.2. So, if I had cancer, I would have to shift, which really, in wisdom, I should anyway, but I have I did a chocolate and coffee, and I'll have to overcome that at some point because it's not good. But,
and Bonnie, it really helps when your partner is on the same plan as you are.
Yes,
so
I know.
It just finds, like, I always find it really hard. Oh. Yikes.
It happens. It happened to David today too.
Twice.
Okay, we're back.
So
I always find it really good when my wife and I fast together, and when we do these kind of regimes. So even if it's David doing the ozone treatment, it's very good if you're a great partner and doing it as well, because it can't harm you and it can only make you better as well. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, what's funny is last night he wanted to go out for ice cream, and I said no.
What?
I was joking.
He was not joking. That's what he loves. And I said no, because I know if I get ice cream, you're going to try to steal my ice cream and eat even a little bit, and then there's going to be this controversy between us that we don't want, because I'm going to wind up grabbing it out, you're going to wind up wearing it on your shirt, or it's going to be on the sidewalk, and you're not going to get any ice cream, but you're going to have to spend $10 buying it. So let's not even go there, because we're going to have a fight over ice cream and whether or not you can have some, and he would be shut down on that, because I would fight to make sure you don't put it in your mouth. And sugar feeds cancer.
It definitely
I don't know if we have a minute for me to share a few other elements if people found that. yesterday. Because, there's so many things that heal us naturally. And after our visit yesterday on the video, I thought, oh, I want to tell him about this, and I forgot that and that and that. Oh, there's so many other things. So let me share them now that we have a chance. For us ladies, we always care about our skin, right? And guys do too. But, guys look good when they're rugged. They don't have to look pretty like us women always want to, right? So one of the things that really helps with the skin is lavender. When we put it on our skin, it can also help heal burns, sunburns, freckling. It makes our skin softer.
Especially mixed with coconut oil.
You mix it with coconut oil. Use natural oils on your skin rather than, these lotions, even though they say they're so natural. You just don't know.
Throw the lotions out.
Throw the lotions out, especially the perfume lotions. And a lot of times we can be getting poisoned by the very things we're putting on our skin from the same product that might be in there. DMSO, with all these additional chemicals, can also feed from the skin and go internally from them adding DMSO with negative products. So we have to be careful what we allow to be put on our skin. What else? So, everybody wants nice, thick hair, right? Yes? Yeah.
Oh, you've got thick hair. You remember a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago, my hair looked so thin, I looked like I was going bald.
It's because she was poisoned.
I was poisoned at one of the David Straight seminars. And I'm just now able to tell that story.
And, yeah, she lost a third of her hair.
Yeah, my hair was falling out by the handfuls. It was crazy. And I turned to David and I said, David, I feel like I've been poisoned. I don't know what's going on. I had a hairball this big on the side of my tub, and it all fell out within 2 weeks of me being poisoned. Mm-hmm. And, that we are truly taking kingdom hits. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we had a David Straight seminar. And a lady approached me and she said, I've got a bag of food for you. You shouldn't have to eat the food that the rest of us are eating. So please, I went and bought this from the local restaurant, and it's such good food. And we had eaten there the night before, so we knew it was good food. And then I asked the host, because we do have to be careful, because this has happened before. There's been attempts on our lives, so we have to be real careful when we take gifts of food, because we don't know who's given it. There are bad guys that attend our seminars too, right? It happens. So she hands us a sack of food. We talked to the host about the lady that gave it. Oh yeah, she's a good gal, whatever. We ate them. 2 weeks later, my hair starts falling out like crazy. I had suspicions that it was the food. However,
and I didn't eat mine.
He did eat his. He just doesn't remember. David's.
I did not
David's
eat. I just ate one thing out of the plate.
David is just impervious to any poison. He's been through so much. So what had happened is I looked like I was going bald, and I was, for us women, hair is our glory, and it makes guys look better too. I'm just saying, it is what it is. So I went to the local nutrition guy and I said, what do I do? And he said, here's something that when your hair starts falling out, you need to buy this, because there's a nice element that might be missing from your diet. It's called silica. Put 10 drops of it in your water and drink it every day. And he gave me some hair vitamins. And of course, protein is super important. Well, I stuck to that regime. The silica truly helps because it helps stop the fallout of your hair. So guys can implement this too. When men start going through male pattern baldness and they start losing their hair in their 20s or 30s, usually when their testosterone levels are at the highest, it can cause hair loss. I also got on an iodine supplement based on the nutrition guy, store owner. My hair started, after about a month, started coming back in and getting thick. However, at the time when the hair was falling out, my hair was down to my waist. It was the longest it had ever been. It looked like a lion's mane. It was really beautiful for our wedding back in 2021. And then all of a sudden it falls out like crazy. And I'm looking like I'm going bald. It looked like it, it was horrible. Like a chicken molting. Have you ever seen those? They look sick. Anyway, I made some videos where it looked like my hair was molting. And, I looked like I was going through chemo radiation. But really I was poisoned. That very same lady came to a seminar 6 months later. And she said, hey, you might remember me. I was the lady that brought you that food at that other seminar, and I did remember her. And I said, oh, yes, it was wonderful. She goes, you ate it? I'm not kidding. But I wasn't going to give her the glory, letting her know that she had done me harm. I said, I did eat it, and it was wonderful. Thank you so much. You were such a blessing. And so for her curse on me, I blessed her, right? And she said to me, this is her speaking her own guilt. She said, I realized after I gave you the food that's kind of dangerous for you because people could be poisoning you. I thought, oh boy. I just told her, I said, God is so good. He blesses me, and I'm so grateful. His protection's on us at all times. But truly, she had murder in her heart. We don't know who she worked with or for, but chances are I got a chemotherapy drug. And come to find out after the fact, this is rumor, that her husband is a retired doctor. So I don't know what she laced our food with, but we have to be super careful with that. And so in our seminars where we're physically present, we make sure that the attendees know not to bring in any food for other people, because you need to be able to source your food. And you know, we are taking kingdom hits, as what they call, you know, we're amongst those who are the tip of the spear of trying to stand up our republic, act in honor, live in righteousness, restore our republic, you know, just be a godly example to everybody around us. We want to stay in equity at all times, even with people who want our harm. We really want to bless them. We want to turn around and bless them. I mean, you know, David, I would constantly tell him when I was in that dark place. I say it that because I hate the word prison. It was more like being held captive in a cage and terrorized. But you know, I wonder many times, is it because they want to listen to David and I speaking over the phone every day and to know who we are, what we think, and how we think, and to get some details about our lives? Because, you know, I was there for 15 months and David and I talked 2 to 3 times a day, every day. And so they could have done it for reasons of intelligence, like wanting to know, who are these people? Well, they got a really clear view, because all I ever did was talk about God, his word, pray over David, pray over my persecutors. So they got a very clear view about who I was and who David was. And we prayed for the people who had done our harm. So they know my heart. They've heard me for 15 months. And I jokingly say, how many FBI agents will be saved because they were assigned to listen to all of our phone calls? They will hear all the prayer to God and exalt and God is so good, and they got to hear it every day, all day long. How many of them will approach me in heaven and say, Bonnie, I'm here because I was assigned to listen to you and be a covert operator, and here you won me for the kingdom. I fell in love with scripture myself and started teaching it to my own family. We never know. All things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purposes. So we know that the trials are not just for us, they're also for other people. And we will walk away. I told David, I was searching my heart daily in that place. Lord, why am I here? And finally I reached the point where I got it. Okay, Lord, is my case being judged in the heavenly courts above? If so, I need to start repenting of anything and everything I've ever done wrong. I need that record cleaned. So God would bring stuff to my attention and I'd be like, Lord, I forgot about that one. All the foolish things I did as a teenager. We all have done foolish things, whether it's harsh words we've spoken, bitterness we've harbored, lies we've told, things we've stolen, whatever. I stole David's heart. I've never given it back. I'm just saying. But anything that we've ever done wrong. So I was constantly, you know, searching for any sin. Lord, is there any sin that separates me from you? You know, scripture tells us his ear is not heavy that it cannot hear, nor is his arm short that it cannot save, but it's our sin that separates us from our God. I wanted my record clean because ultimately there were days I thought I would die in there. The temperatures were 107 degrees. Your brain will cook at 104 and give you brain damage. The walls were thermal tested in the prison at 107. So I had to face reality that I might not have walked out of that place. So I had to emotionally be ready for God to just let me let me die. I didn't want to, but I had to be ready. So, part about being a kingdom worker like we are is just constantly always wanting to do good. We know scripture tells us many are the afflictions of the righteous, that God will deliver us from them all. We will suffer in this life. But I was constantly telling David, if I'd saved one child, it would be worth it. And we know we've saved more than one through, us just teaching parents how to stand in court and how not to give the court jurisdiction. I got to share this with you. When I was in that place, I studied so tenaciously. They had a LexisNexis program on a tablet, so I was able to read every U.S. Supreme Court decision I could find on whatever topics I was interested in. And I filled up 12 80-page notebooks of just notes of me just constantly wanting to write stuff down. And I found a gem, a beautiful gem, called Northern Pipeline versus Marathon Pipeline 1982 U.S. Supreme Court decision. And what it says is it talks about inferior courts, that they do not have any jurisdiction over you without a contract. And if you stand on that in a court that you do not want to be in, and you challenge the jurisdiction based on that one alone, they have to let you go. And don't give up. Just say, I've challenged this court. What kind of court is it? Is it a legislative court? Is it an inferior court? Because the U.S. Supreme Court says in Northern Pipeline versus Marathon Pipeline, 1982 U.S. Supreme Court, that inferior courts have no jurisdiction. So are you an inferior court? Yes or no? I need to know. Because I don't have a contract to be here, and I don't consent to be here. I don't have to descend as one of the sovereign people to a court with no jurisdiction that was actually created as a foreign court, foreign to the people. And I don't consent, I don't consent, I don't consent. I'm here held against my free will. I just don't deviate from it, because a lot of times when you're dealing with a magistrate, they're masters at glazing over what you're bringing to the table and say, I don't consent, I don't consent. This is an inferior court and I don't consent. I'm leaving now. I don't have a contract with you. We're done here, and turning and walking out. You should be able to do that and stand and don't talk about anything else. Just that topic alone. They have nowhere to go. And then if the magistrate tries to deviate from it, say, we have a topic at hand right now, and you're not dealing with it. You need to, because there's nothing else here that we're talking about. I'm here by special appearance to talk about this inferior court has no jurisdiction over me. I'm not a belligerent. I'm not a combatant. I'm one of the people. I'm here in peace. I live on the land in peace. I am not foreign. I am not at war, and just stand on peace and equity and righteousness. I am here, as a righteous woman, a godly woman. I want no harm to no one. I am a peaceful woman, and this court is a war court. It's a foreign jurisdiction.
Either that, or it's got to be a nisi prius court, where you get a common law judge. So
David's going to talk about that next. Oh,
am I?
Yeah. Unless we want to talk about more natural remedies. By the way, if some of the turmeric is an anti-inflammatory. It's an there's a wonderful product called Curamed that's equal to taking 500 capsules of turmeric. It's called Curamed. That's another thing that stops the flow of cancer from coming in. It stops, the flow of the cancer being created in your body. So you shut off that valve by using the Curamed. You can buy turmeric root in some of the grocery stores. I know H-E-B in Texas has it, some of the other natural food stores. Ginger is another one that is a natural blood thinner, antispasmodic. It just gives your body the feeling of so much energy and a better blood supply going to everywhere in your body, which can be an aphrodisiac too, because it can also help you know, married people, like, you know, in the area, keeping it G-rated. You've got extra blood flow going everywhere.
All right.
Okay, so put it, and then you've got aloe vera. You don't have to buy the capsules if you can get it from a more natural source. It's always the best to get it from nature itself rather than it dried.
By the leaf.
Right, by the leaf. Cut the skin off of the leaf itself. Make that little fillet steak. Put it in a blender. Blend it up. Aloe vera is a superfood. It will heal the intestines. It will heal the stomach lining. It's wonderful for ulcers. The same thing with ginger. All right, what else?
Okay.
Wait, no, there was more.
Quartz.
Hold on. All right, great to talk to you guys. I'm gonna give you back to David.
She's so much fun. How many people know what a Nisi Prius cord is? Yeah, it's spelled just like the Toyota Prius. Nisi Prius, N-I-S-I, Prius.
Like the car.
Like the car. How many people know what that is? Adam, can I hear them? Or you got to be on, I guess. Anyway, a Nisi Prius court is a court of original jurisdiction. If you're dealing with an administrative court, you can hold them accountable by saying, Your Honor, I demand a Nisi Prius court. A Nisi Prius court is a court of original jurisdiction and must be heard under common law. Not many people know that. It needs to be taught more, and it's not. We always spend too much time in defense and not enough in offense. So our offensive game is lacking. Our defensive game is strong. So we need to improve so that we have a more rounded and better overall game that we play. And don't ever fall for qualified immunity. There is no qualified immunity with these officers. The minute they violated your rights and they broke their oath to the Constitution, they forfeited their immunity. Use judicial notices to put evidence upon the courts of these facts. Okay, and you can just fire one judicial notice after another, after another, after another. In fact, one of your judicial notices should be about judicial notices being evidence. Okay, so that should be your first one. You warn them that a judicial notice is evidence. And then you hit them with the next one. What are some of the judicial notices? A judicial notice of the Foreign Agent Registration Act or the failure to register. Judicial notices of both of offices, of jurisdiction of due process.
Chevron deference has been overturned.
Bonnie says put them on judicial notice of Chevron deference, but
It's been overturned.
It's been overturned. It eliminates government agencies being able to create law and hold you accountable to it. Only legislators can create law. See? So there's all kinds of judicial notices that can be put on the record. I've had many judicial notices. Please use them, because along with your affidavit of truth, that's the evidence that's being put on the record. The other side's not going to put any on. Therefore, everything they put on is hearsay. They've got to put truth and fact on the record, and every truth and fact they put on can usually be challenged. Your evidence can't. And they never challenge it, by the way. judicial notices of personal violations of human rights, judicial notices of due process, judicial notices of waivers of immunity, and so on and so forth.
And David, we're gonna send those to all the attendees, the ones that we've sanitized, and we're gonna send them to everybody in an email, probably sometime next week. So those will all go out to everybody here, so you know that they're coming. Those came straight from David's, pen to your hands.
I want to share something that's real important about human rights, if I may. Is that okay? It's kind of important because, as I'm certain that many leaders are in the room that are also taking kingdom hits. When I was in that dark place, as soon as I arrived in the prison, a man approached the car that I was being trafficked in to the prison, and he announced to me, he asked, "Have you had a COVID swab, a COVID test?" And I said, "No, and I won't." He said, "Yeah, you will." I said, "No, I won't." He said, "Yeah, you will." I said, "No, I won't." I said, "You're not shoving anything up my nose, or I'm going to consider it rape under PREA, Prison Rape Elimination Act." It's a big deal. So you're not putting anything in my nose.
Wow, wrong person.
And they didn't. So what was interesting, before they released me from the prison, I had multiple attempts for them to do blood draws. And I want to tell you how important it is not to give them your blood, right? I believe that there is military advancements where if they have your blood type, they can target you with certain frequencies, and it's going to affect a certain culture or blood type. I believe that. And as well as they can do organ harvesting from prisoners once they have your blood type. There might be some wealthy person living on the East Coast that needs a new heart. Certainly they're not going to choose one that's over 50 like me. But the bottom line is they don't need my blood. So I had the medical department at the prison pull me into medical. And if you don't go to medical, they write you a case, which means you'll stay in prison longer because you have to be a good prisoner. So I would show up and I would say, "I'm here to sign a waiver." Because you have the right to waive their handbook, and you need to do all the reading you can if you're ever in those places. And so I had somebody tell me that I had to do a blood draw. It's called an exit lab, and for them to test my blood before they could release me on parole. And I said, "Well, I don't consent, and I'm here to sign the waiver." And they said, "Well, this is the exception to that, is to do an exit lab." And I said, "Well, that's funny because your own corporate charter handbook does not mention any exceptions, so therefore you're just making stuff up, and I don't consent." Well, the man I was meeting with turned over his shoulder and said, "This lady's crazy. She needs a psyche eval." And I was like, oh boy, because in the psyche eval system, they can make up anything that they want. They can ask you, "Oh, well, what's your favorite color?" And you say, "Oh, I just really love green. It's so pretty. Looks great on the trees and the grass. It's such a great color." And they say, "Oh yeah, she's crazy. She likes green." I mean, they can just make stuff up, right? So the very next day I went in and I met with a psyche eval lady, and I had already written a legal brief to her about the violations of the Nuremberg Code, how they cannot force blood draws, and the U.S. Supreme Court's already ruled on that. So I told the psyche eval lady, I said, "I'm just here to sign a waiver." And this is important to know because it's a violation of the Nuremberg Code 1947. So I quoted that word for word about forced medical protocols, right? Nobody can force that on you, just like the mask wearing. That's a medical treatment that they cannot force on you. It's a violation of Nuremberg Code 1947. And anyway, so I wrote a whole brief on that, and I read it to the psyche eval lady, and I said, "I'm sure you're very good at your job, but I don't need your services. I'm just here to sign a waiver." And here's what the U.S. Supreme Court has said about prisons doing mental health evaluations. They're saying that they can't. So I'm just going to stand on that U.S. Supreme Court decision because those guys are really much smarter than I am. And so, anyway, they never got my blood, praise the Lord, because it's none of their business what's in my blood. I know my blood is clean. I never gave it to them upon arrival. So if there was anything weird in my blood, I got it when I was there. And mind you, those ladies are drinking toxic water that's brown. is running through rusty pipes. As soon as I got there, I started having lockjaw, couldn't fully open my mouth. The food, rumor has it that there was a dog food company, you told me that was right next door to the prison years ago. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they got caught slipping dog food in the prisoners' food. I know, right? So there's some unusual things that happen to prisoners, and we've got to fight for their rights, because it could happen to any one of us anytime, especially when there's so much profit from putting innocent people in prison. It's a profiting system. It's all about profiteering. And again, we live in peace and honor and integrity, and we can do everything right and live a perfect life and still wind up in prison. And I can tell you stories of the ladies I heard, but you know what? I started a church there. I got the ladies praying. I got them, into scripture. I got them leading out in a Bible study where they took over. As soon as we all got together, we had a group of 16, and there was a lady that wrote me after I got out telling me, praise the Lord, Bonnie, because of you, my soul is saved. And of course, it's not me. It's the Holy Spirit working in all of us, right? And it made me cry to read her sweet letter of what she wrote about, having an impact on people in a positive way, because those people that are sitting in prison are basically, a lot of times, have no family to support them, have no emotional support on the outside, have no financial support on the outside. And then if they ever get out of prison, they are going to basically a homeless shelter for a while until they can get a job. And then the prisons are going to try to teach them how to get out and work when they've been destroyed, absolutely destroyed economically and emotionally. And their family's gone. History, kids are grown. I mean, there's a lady that is sitting in that same prison where I was, 24 years, didn't commit a crime. She got a 99-year sentence. She went in at 24. She's 48 now, going through the change of life. She'll never be able to have kids, which is another
They stole her life.
Yeah, they stole her life. And this is a woman that committed no crime. There was a violent act that happened at a party. She just happened to be at a party as a young girl, didn't participate in the act, didn't, you know what I mean? And yet all of a sudden she's gone because of an overzealous situation where they wanted to profit from her
Overzealous
incarceration.
DAs.
And so, we're not at war, we're at peace. I'm going to say that over and over again, because we don't want to be at war with them.
But at the same time, the district attorneys are the biggest criminals on the planet.
We want to just live in righteousness and peace. We want to do things in a peaceful way. We want to live in equity. We also want to always, in our pleadings, I'm a non-combatant. I am not a belligerent, I'm a non-combatant. I'm not a participant in this war, because we've certainly been overtaken as a nation. But we're neutral, right?
Yep.
We don't take sides. We're here for working for the kingdom of God.
Yep,
Okay.
The only time to be a belligerent is upon sentencing. At your sentencing hearing, you have the final word at your sentencing hearing. And there's Supreme Court case law that says at that time, you must stand upon your rights as a belligerent claimant in person. That is the only time to be belligerent. But the word belligerent does not mean to be rude. It does not mean what most people think it means. It means to stand firm. So understand that word. Okay? That doesn't mean what our goal is peace always. Always peace. That's what we want. We just want to be left alone. When the people who want to be left alone stand, you will see the biggest war in the world. Okay, because they will fight the hardest for that peace and their homeland and their property.
I believe that there's a way to do it peacefully now. And again, everything that I'm reading is that you get to go directly to the U.S. Supreme Court under the Constitution, which is equity. And you can enter through writ of habeas corpus and ask for leave, motion for leave to go into equity, and mention the words that there is no other court that has jurisdiction, especially if you've already corrected your status, You have a right to self-determination, as David mentioned earlier, underneath the ICCPR Article 1. You have a right to claim who you are. I can say I'm a Mexican, even though I'm not, but I don't. I claim to be a Texian American. I don't claim to be a U.S. citizen. Anyway, the good thing is they never took my blood, and something that I said to them might have provoked their conscience. They realized that they were in violation of the Nuremberg Code, which is kind of a big deal. It's a war crime.
That and me calling and having conversations with the warden.
Yeah, and I think, guys, the whole incarceration was a war crime. I mean,
yeah.
And the violation of the Nuremberg Code is just the tip of the iceberg there.
Right.
So as far as solutions are concerned, because I'm kind of like the solution guy, and that's what I'm always looking for. So on the next steps, what I'm looking into now is actual insurance, where we can actually buy insurance for wrongful incarcerations and things like this and turn the bonds around the other way, because it's all about the profit. So, you can buy insurance for everything. I've already been talking to some major insurance carriers about it. And I think it would be really helpful that if they were held accountable by bigger entities, because as we all know, the banks have funded always both sides of the war.
Right.
Maybe we start to move it towards our side a little bit, where, we don't have this problem with our families worrying about whether their kids get pulled over, whether they're the wrong color skin, whether, they're at the wrong place at the wrong time. And they're covered on those types of things, and really start financially impacting those institutions with a little more financial backing that can move things around. So it's one idea that we have, and we're talking to some carriers now, and I'll keep you guys posted on how far we can move with that.
Well, the scary thing is, like in my situation, I tried to mail out writs and add certain civil servants to the case. I actually had the prison post office block my mail and steal my mail. And it's not like you could go and buy stamps all the time. You could only buy stamps every 2 weeks when you went to commissary if you had money on your books. And a lot of times you want to buy other things like deodorant, shampoo, conditioner from commissary. And then what's left over, you might be able to buy stamps, but they put a limit on how much you can buy. It's not like you can buy $500 worth of stuff. You get to spend $100 every 2 weeks. So if you have $30 worth of stamps, which is their maximum amount of stamps that you can buy, they had stolen my outbound mail, which is a violation of 28 CFR 540.19. If they violated their own federal code, where they absconded my mail, they opened it without me being present, and they kept it. It was stamped and certified mail, the green label. They didn't have the red, but they had the green mail label with the return receipt card, and they wouldn't send it out. They wouldn't give me back my envelope with all the stamps on it either. So, I mean, that was mail fraud that happened in that prison. And, what can you do? You're basically held hostage, and you have no ability to even speak out about it if you can't get your mail out. And it's a very dangerous, I cannot tell you how violated you feel in every right in your ability to do anything. It is such a scourge on every bit of your liberty that you love and enjoy.
What was that code again?
28 CFR 540.19 is the outbound, and then the incoming is 28 CFR 540.18 is the Code of Federal Regulation regulating prisons and the mail incoming and outgoing, and how they can't even look at. We had our mail stolen many times. It was weird. It was almost as if I was there because of who my husband is. Because when David would send me stuff in the mail, inevitably I would never get it, but other people could send me mail and I would receive it. It was very weird, very suspicious.
Yeah, I got to the point where I just quit sending her letters because she wasn't getting any of them.
And, they tried their best to make you feel isolated and blocking mail, and people have to jump through hoops to get on your phone list. And it felt like they wanted to destroy every bit of your peace and joy that they could attack by making you feel isolated and alone. They don't know my greatest joy comes from God, and He's with me at all times, wherever, right? But I tell you, it is a system that if I were privileged to be in a place where I could help others in a massive way, that's the first thing I would change is the prison system.
Well, we're all in that place, Bonnie.
Yeah.
We're all in that place right now, and that's what we need to change.
That's what I'm most passionate about. I want, if a prisoner is going to serve a prison sentence, they need to be still treated like a human being.
And there needs to be a victim.
Right.
There needs to be a real crime.
Yeah, and there's very few out of the hundreds and hundreds of people I talked to over the last 15 months who were prisoners, and I get calls every day. There's very seldom a victim.
Right.
Yeah, in your case, Bonnie, there was not one victim.
No,
The only victim is you.
I've suffered for 9 years of persecution for just owning an arm. But the reality is that I had previously sued the county that I lived in, and it felt like retaliation because they wanted to get the girl back that sued him and prevailed in federal court against him.
Bonnie, it's not what felt like. It is what happened. Okay, it was retaliation. Be real here. This is exactly what happened.
Well, and
It was a
again,
large lawsuit that she won, so.
yeah. And so it felt like, I have to say that because I can't read their hearts and minds. And it could have been that they just said, hey, we just want her trust. And maybe it wasn't retaliation. Maybe they just wanted access to all that trust money. And I used to have many licenses. I don't have more.
I'm not buying that, Bonnie. Nope. Not at all. That's too much credit given. Not true.
I know that's why I have to say that though, because otherwise it comes across as accusatory. And again, I'm operating in peace. I've forgiven anybody and everybody that's harmed me, and that's what gives me joy and peace at night and gives me sweet sleep. I don't have nights where I toss and turn, even though I've been put through the scourge and tried in the fire. And Scripture talks about when that happens, we will be refined as gold. So all things work together for good. No matter what happens, God is in charge. And if He allows it, it went across His desk and He got the stamp of okay, knowing that on the other side, hopefully I'll be stronger, be able to reach more people, be more compassionate about those that are incarcerated. And I am, because I've walked that walk. It's not just an imagination thing. I've been there. I've felt the feelings of being ready to die and asking God at random, Lord, if you take now, it's okay with me. I'm ready to go. And He said, oh no, girl, I still have plans for you. So here I am, out, free. God is good.
All right, guys, everybody, we love you. Bonnie and I love you to death. Change this world. Go help somebody.
Yes.
Go do something. Change this world. And that's all we ask from you. We love you, and we're going to sign off.
Love you too, David.